How's it going, guys? Welcome back to another edition of the Athletes Hub podcast. Back again with Flexx, as always. How's it going, Flexx?
Man, it's going.
Well, someone's going, or they've gone, I should say. Guys, breaking news. Liam Rosenior has been sacked at Chelsea, and that follows their 3-0 defeat to Brighton on Tuesday night. And Flexx, what's your thoughts on this? Because I know, listen, when it was going on, I was actually messaging and saying to you that, should he be sacked, or do you feel like he'll be sacked because of the run of results you've had? And you've said that, and if you said on our weekly roundup as well, that it's not been Rosenior's fault, it's just a lack of structure, a lack of organisation, bad decisions at Chelsea. So what's your thoughts on Rosenior leaving his job?
Look, for me, I look at it and I think they sacked the wrong man. They should be sacking themselves. That's what they should have done, because you went and sacked Enzo Maresca for what? You went and then gone and sacked Mauricio Pochettino. You've then sacked Graham Potter. You then sacked Thomas Tuchel. It seems like the only group of people that have no idea of what to do and what's going on are the people doing the sacking. And they feel like sacking is going to improve whatever it is that's going on. And it's not. Like, they need to leave. That's what it is. I don't put no blame of what's going on Liam Rosenior. He's been in the door only 4 months. He hasn't had enough time to even really get himself going and get things going the way he would like, etc., etc. So
do you accept that? Because I asked you last time on Roundup, when you come into a club like Chelsea in January, as much as he's coming mid-season, right? As much as he's not experienced at that level, but when you get put in the dugout on a hot seat in a club like Chelsea, where the expectation is to deliver leagues and Champions Leagues and just to win trophies, right? If you look at the run of results he's had in recent times, and you said it's not his fault, he's not had a chance to get up to speed, etc., etc. He's been there since January. But also, and for a club of Chelsea's size, yes, there might be a project, but he needs to win now. And do you feel like the run of results is like you've not scored a goal in 4 games?
Let's look at this, yeah. You're the owner, Richard, and you want to win now. Do you then go and hire somebody who has not won anything before, and furthermore has never managed at a club the size of Chelsea? So
I wouldn't personally. I wouldn't do that because I need a track record, especially at Chelsea. Yeah, you need a track record.
There you go. So if that person fails, you should look in the mirror, right? 100%. And you should take full responsibility of that person's failure, because you've basically plucked somebody out of where they were from and where they were performing well to a place where the conditions don't match the expectation. That's on you. So he's just being scapegoated. The players have let him down. The players played terribly yesterday night. Terribly, shocking. Like, they didn't even want to be there. Like, very bad. So the players have a lot to answer for over these last 5 games. And the owners. There's not much the manager could do. Let's be honest. If players decide they ain't going to play, what are you going to do as a manager? Really?
But that's the thing. The crazy thing is that you should look at some of the performances, right? And you're looking at some of the individual mistakes. Even Sanchez made a mistake yesterday. I think Chalobah cleared it off the line. It's like things like that, individual errors that this team are making, right? Even you're going back to the lack of discipline, not just under Rosenior, but Maresca when he was there, the red cards. It just feels like a lot of these players who are meant to be international footballers, there's just a lack of in-game management, a lack of in-game intelligence. And you're right. I don't think it's all on Rosenior, because I think Rosenior's a good coach. I think everywhere he's been, right, he's been a good coach, right? He's a good coach. He's good on the training pitch. But if you're, like you said, if you're an owner, you bring in Liam Rosenior on a 6-year deal, Flexx, a 6-year deal, right? And he's only served, 3 months of his deal. I mean,
crazy.
If you're managing that situation, as you said, you've got to sack yourself, because you've put in a manager there who's got no prior experience at this level as the head coach, the guy who's leading the whole ship, right? And you put him on a 6-year deal, not even a 3-year deal, to see, okay, let's see how it gets on. Can he maybe achieve some of those targets? You put him on a 6-year deal, and I don't know what the payout's going to be, but it's going to be a crazy payout for Rosenior. And he walks away with a lot of money. But for the club again, you're starting again at zero. You're thinking, who's making these decisions? It takes me back to when Amorim was in charge of United. It's like you put a manager there who doesn't fit what you want. So who's hiring these people and put them in a position and then paying them money and sacking them? Because at the end of the day, you're the one who looks silly. Do you know what I mean?
Well, we would like to think so, right? But when I listen to other Chelsea fans by way of YouTube and whatnot, they all point the finger at Rosenior. Rosenior is just the face of the organization that is really pulling the strings. We know we shouldn't have Sanchez in goal. We could have got Mike Maignan for 25 million, right? We said that's too much. We want to pay 15. So you know what? We're happy with Sanchez in goal. No manager makes that decision. That's coming from above. You say you want certain other players of decent quality. Enzo wanted a centre-back, an experienced centre-back. What did they tell him? Nah, wait for Levi Colwill to come back. He's not even experienced, but they say, well, you would have him back. You can have him. Again, that's coming from above. It's those guys that need to be looked at and seriously looked into, because their whole strategy of what they think they're going to do is very different to what is actually happening. I don't know if they feel like this is the NFL or basketball or whatever the case is. Nah, this is football. This ain't soccer. This is football. You know what I mean? And football in the Premier League is very, very different. You can't take a bunch of kids, a bunch of inexperienced players, and think that you're going to win anything with them. Tell me a side that has gone on to, except for Man United side in the 90s, that went on to win with a very young squad. That can't be replicated again.
Like, you know what it is? It's like even that team, right, that in the 90s, that team had a strong spine. It had I think Cantona was still there, Schmeichel, Steve Bruce, Paul Ince. Like they had a good spine of Dennis Irwin, Keane, professionals in there who helped the young players get through a tricky patch. So you had the blend of young players who were up and coming, but also experienced, who had won previously 2 Premier League titles at that point as well. In that point, this Chelsea team, they haven't got that. They've got good international players. You've got Enzo, who's won the World Cup. You've got Caicedo, who's played obviously.
We always say that, right? We say, Enzo won the World Cup. Enzo was just part of the team. How effective was he really at the World Cup?
That's the thing. Clearly he wasn't enough because he wasn't influential in that World Cup win, but he was part of the squad and part of the team. But you're thinking, again, it's like going back to Romero at Tottenham. You guys were part of a group, an environment who won the World Cup. So I'm expecting that you guys are going to bring a bit of that experience or that know-how how to win matches.
They don't have no experience or no know-how, because when you have Messi on the team, that's all the difference you need. You get what I mean? Like, you've got the cheat code. You just need to show up. So when we say, that Romero won the World Cup, and, he's a trash defender. We all know this. No, they just had a difference maker when they won the World Cup. It's the same with Enzo. He's not a great midfielder. He's not a midfielder that's going to win you games. He's not a midfielder that can barely get you through draws. We've seen that. We saw it yesterday. He did nothing. So, everyone needs to leave off with these players that have won the World Cup and whatever, and that didn't even do anything at the World Cup. Let's just be serious.
But you know what? You're right. I think some players, even Cole Palmer, he's not turned up in recent weeks either. He's off it. He missed the game for injury yesterday. But as much as Rosenior has not had the experience, and he seemed like he was out of his depth in that position, right? The players who you're expecting to give a manager a bit of a break, you guys. I feel like in modern football, right, there's so much emphasis on coaches, managers. I don't recall us watching football, in my opinion, in the good old days, right, where there was so much emphasis on managers and coaches, right? You had great players. Of course, the managers were influential on the outcome of games and how they managed the team, etc., etc. But it felt as if when you had a team, right, for example, an AC Milan team in the 2000s who had superstars in that team, you're not thinking Ancelotti's going to be standing there thinking, okay, well, if something goes wrong here, he's probably expecting, well, the only instance I can remember is the 2005 Champions League final where Liverpool came back and it kind of seemed like they lost a bit of control. But Ancelotti was on the side there. He's smoking his cigar as he does, right? Because he's got international experienced football players who know what to do. They can change it themselves. But it feels like now in modern football, that all the emphasis, look at Mourinho, he was an inexperienced manager. But he had a proper team of men, proper players who could get him out of that situation. Those players hadn't won a Premier League title before, but some of them stepped up. Some of them hadn't played in England before, but they stepped up and they won a Premier League. So that's where football's changed. Everything's on the young coach. Now, again, he's a young coach, but you guys have been at Chelsea for at least a couple of seasons now. You're expecting them to kind of help this manager through this rocky period. He's come through January, help him get through the period again, and then just try and get some results. They've gone 4 games, and again, the 8-2 was it 8-2 defeat to PSG over 2 legs. That kind of summarized where Chelsea they started the season not that badly. I mean, Maresca did a decent job before he got sacked, but it just feels as if
that's the point, because you had somebody who knew what to do with what he had.
Yeah,
like that's the difference. And then you go and get rid of the person. And then you bring in somebody who hasn't had time to adjust to what is in front of him, and you expect him just to plug and play and get results? Like, bear in mind, this is a group of people that don't even have a front of shirt sponsor for the last 2 or 3 years. Like, this is the type of ownership we're dealing with. They can't even nail down a front of shirt sponsor, and we expect them to be able to go and handle things off the pitch. They can barely handle the stuff off the pitch, let alone what's going on the pitch. Like, it's ridiculous. They need a consultant. If they want to be successful, they need to go and hire a consultant or a group of consultants that can actually tell them what they're doing and what they should be doing and what they should stop doing. Because if anyone who had any bit of sense, they would have said, what, you're going to get Liam Rosenior from Strasbourg at Chelsea? Nah, that doesn't make sense. Again, this is the same group of people. When they took ownership of the club, they sacked every single person that was working at the club. Everybody from the back room of the Roman Abramovich era was sacked. And then Todd Bowley made himself football director of football, and then has gone on interviews to say, if Man City want Cucurella, then I want Cucurella, because if Man City want him, that means he's a good player.
Yeah, this guy hasn't got any clue about football. You know, the Americans, they come into the football clubs in the country, right, and they try to run it like how they're running their they call it, what do they call it over there? The NBA teams, the NFL teams, you know, they're trying to run it like how they run their sports teams out there, right? And they're just messing things up. It even goes back to when they tried to have a Super League in this country. Right, and that backlash that received as well. So it shows you a lot of these American owners who come in here, they've lost touch. They don't know what it means to run a Premier League football club, right? And a lot of fans around the countries, we want owners, right, who invest in our teams and you know, and sign the best players and get the best coaches, right? But to what effect or to what consequence? Because when you've got people like that who have a lot of wealth and have money, but they're using it in the wrong ways. For example, Rosenior's going to get he's 3 months right into a 6-year contract. Do you know what I mean?
Again,
like what? And Chelsea recently they got a suspension from the transfer market, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
So you're going into a new season potentially in the summer with a new manager, and that manager then can't buy new players, and you've got players on these big contracts. So you find it really hard to get rid of. Raheem Sterling's out in Feyenoord. He's been told that they won't renew his contract, so I'm guessing he's going to come back to Chelsea. Disassy's at West Ham, so there's still a lot of problems there with the playing squad, and the manager's going to come in there with no transfer budget because he can't spend anything, and he's having to deal with all this stuff. It's it's just bizarre, really, to be honest.
Look, mate, the club is cooked. I remember saying this, like, we're probably done for the next 10 years. Like, we're like, for real, because the problems are like astronomical. There's so many things to fix, and it's not even that. So it's like you've got the problems, but you've also got the mentality of the owners, which is also just totally invalid and incorrect for what is required at the Premier League. I personally don't even think that these owners could do a good job owning a championship club, let alone Chelsea in the Premier League. It has a whole nother set of requirements managing a top Premier League side. And I might even have to stop saying a top Premier League side, because we are far from that. We are just a Premier League side. By the time we play the next game, if we lose, we might fall out of the top 10. Can you imagine that? Out of the top 10. Like, that's crazy work. So now we can be mentioned in the same breath as Tottenham and the rest. You know what I mean? From the season before, because that's what's happened. And if the likes of Tottenham do get relegated, right, it goes to show you're not too big to fail. And Chelsea very much well could be heading that direction, because we've got players like Liam Delap who we're looking for 20 goals from. Delap couldn't hit a barn door. Like he really couldn't. Like he is shocking. Like absolutely terrible. And what we want to go and challenge for cup competitions. The only teams we have beaten are teams in the Championship and League One. That's it. When you look at the run of form in the last 5 to 7 games, those are the teams that we've beaten. So it goes to show that even at a decent Championship level, we would struggle.
You know, it's like you look at clubs like Leicester City, right? And they've been relegated to League One yesterday, and it shows you how quickly the downward spiral can actually take place. And I know a lot of people were critical of Roman Abramovich for his spending at Chelsea and how he went about things, right? But one thing I said about Abramovich is that he always went in the market. He might have put money into his club, and he did put a lot of money into the Chelsea, but he always went for the very best, whether that's the best players and the best coaches. But it feels as if underneath this ownership, right? Because again, like, who's going to come in after Rosenior? Like, who's the next coach to come in after Rosenior? Because
Gary O'Neill.
I think he's doing wrong.
Because they don't learn. These are a bunch of idiots. They're a bunch of idiots, these owners. They're just going to come promote Gary O'Neill like they did when
these people right now, Bluco, they're running a textbook on how not to run a football club. Look at QPR. Look at QPR, how they were run a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
They signed everybody and everyone, right? And they ended up in Championship, and they've not come up ever since.
It's crazy.
And Chelsea at the moment, again, the biggest issue that people find is it's just a contract situation. That you want to bring in a manager like Rosenior, okay, fair enough, but you don't bring him on a 6-year contract, because do we really think, right, that this man's going to see it through a whole 6 years at Chelsea? I don't think any of us believe that.
You know,
so why do they believe that?
They just do it to show that they back you. We're giving you a 6-year deal because we believe in you and we back you. We know that you're the man for us.
Because if you believe in him in this tough period now, you will stick with him. And it's like, get to summer, let's get rid of players, we can't sign players, let's get rid of players, and let's come up with a strategy, a realistic strategy, to have a long-term planning to see that you're successful, right? If you've sacked him 3 months into his contract, meanwhile you brought him in January, right? And he's not really has he signed anyone? I don't think he had a chance for him to sign. I don't know.
He hasn't done nothing. And this is where I respect the Arsenal hierarchy, right? Because at least when things were getting tough, they stuck by their man. And they have their strategy, they have their process, and they just stuck with it and got through it. For Chelsea, the process is, what is the process? Yeah. That's the process. What is the process? Because we aren't got one. It's just, it's not working. The fans are screaming, let's sack him. What?
Yeah, it's
like.
But you know, in America, they call it their franchises in America, right? You know, when NBA sports, when NBA teams are under pressure, the coaches get sacked. NFL teams, it's quite a quick turnaround at times, right? You don't see maybe as much longevity. And I think they're using that same hire and fire strategy in the Premier League, because as you mentioned, you've had how many coaches in the last 5 years, right? So they're using that same strategy, that hire and fire. If it's not working short term, okay, let's get rid of it, because as you said, the fans are on our backs. We need to get results quick because it's Chelsea. We need to win. But football's very different to the franchises you run in America. It's very different. And I think their actions now, it shows you, and I said this about Man United a couple of months ago, the next manager you bring in has to be the right one, because if you keep hiring and firing in a short space of time, it shows you that the people running the football club haven't got a clue they haven't got a Scooby-Doo what they're doing. And
let's look at this, yeah. Who could they realistically bring in? And let's be honest, like with the selection, I really can't think of anyone who would even want to associate themselves with Chelsea.
Chelsea will get takers because it's a big football club. You know, it's competing for big trophies, and you know it's a big opportunity. So I think maybe you look at someone like Nagelsmann, he might be a candidate who they might go for and bring him in.
But can you trust the owners?
I don't think you can, because it comes down to whether the owners actually back the manager. Because as I said before, who's going to come in now?
They've got a clear history. You would be their 6th manager, so clearly they don't back managers.
Yeah.
So can you create, like, who would want to go in an environment where you know that they have a history of just getting rid of people, even if it's just 3 or 4 months into the job? you will get sacked. Who wants to be in that environment?
But also, I feel like they probably think in their mind, right, that, okay, well, you have to, if you're trust manager, you have to win games, right? I get it, but they have to remember that you're bringing in coaches, right, but the players aren't good enough. That the players you're bringing in and you expect the managers to work with and get results with, they're not good enough.
We've got Garnacho on one wing and flipping Neto. And then we've got, look, Garnacho, Gittins, Neto. I mean, what do you expect from these people? Delap. What do you expect from this guy?
It doesn't match, does it? The signings and the players you've got, they don't match the ambitions of the football club and what they
50
expect.
million a pop, for these players.
They're getting their pants pulled down in the transfer market. These players are not worth
and spanked. Pants pulled down and spanked. Yeah. That's what's happening. Real talk.
I'll never understand 6 years for Liam Rosenior as a head coach of Chelsea. He's been sacked after 3 months. I'll never understand who would have made that decision to give him that. I'll never. His track record doesn't suggest anything like that. So, again, if you want to give him that, at least give him a fair crack at it. See it through to summer, have a strategy, go again. If it doesn't work out early past next season, then fair enough. But come on, the season's not even over and you've sacked him.
This is what makes no sense. The season, let man finish. Let's have a discussion. Let's see what the heck we're going to do going into the next season. Now you're going to have
I do believe, like I told you as well, I think that Chelsea could still potentially save their season. They've got FA Cup semi-final against Leeds, and then they could potentially finish in the top 5 for the Champions League. So they're probably thinking, well, we've had a real tough run of form. If we get rid of him and we get a bit of a manager bounce, right, then perhaps we can actually save our season, sneak into the top 5 somehow, and potentially win the cup. That's what they probably think. But if we carried on with Rosenior, then we're going to probably go slide down the table a bit more, and we won't beat Leeds on Saturday, and therefore won't win.
They've just got to write off the season. You see, if I'm there, I wouldn't even have made the decisions they're making. But let's say I come and take ownership of the club now. I'm just writing off the season. It's like, it's done. It's cooked. This season's done. You know what I mean? Like, just don't embarrass yourselves. That's my message. Next season, I'll be very hard and firm, but it's hard to do because they've given everybody 10-year contracts for these players. If I'm a footballer and I've got a 10-year contract, what point do I have to prove?
Didn't Moses Caicedo recently sign? Because I saw the video of he signed a contract. Yeah,
this where it doesn't make sense, because what you have to understand is that players play to their contract. When this contract time renewal is coming up, you're going to see them step up the levels. But when you give them 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, why are they playing?
Yeah,
it's guaranteed money. Like, there's nothing to fight for here. There genuinely is nothing to fight for here. Like, what you're going to do, sell me? Nobody's even going to want to buy the person because they'll have to buy out the contract and then, then pay the transfer. Nah, that's not even going to happen. So they've messed up even from a player's contract perspective, let alone paying 50 million a pop for players that are unproven. Back in the day, 50 million would get you R9.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about?
The transfer fees are ridiculous nowadays. Transfer fees, you're paying for average footballers, 50 million pounds for.
It's not below average. They're not even average. They are below average. Remember, these are the bunch of players that can only win against championship sides. So they're not even average Premier League players. They are below average Premier League players. How many goals has Liam Delap scored this season? I don't even know. It's so insignificant, I don't even know. How many assists has Garnacho, Gittins, Neto, and these men got? What's their GA? I don't even know, because there isn't any.
Like I mentioned before, the managers and the players that Chelsea have signed in recent times, right? It's not the same Chelsea. You guys used to go in January and sign Torres from Liverpool, sign Anelka in the middle of the season, right? You're bringing in players like
and whatnot. What are we talking about?
Yeah, like bringing in players like Diego Costa, Hazard coming to the team. Just proper football players. And the players are signing now, they're nowhere near good enough. And we spoke about it at the beginning of the season. It's just not the same Chelsea. Because the players, the managers, they put in a dugout again. Let's be honest, Graham Potter, Pochettino, Maresca. But what of these managers? They're not significantly successful managers, right? They haven't won the big trophies. But everyone who's won previously...
None of them. Only Tuchel is the only one.
Yeah, that's it. But I think he even came under Abramovich, right?
Yeah, precisely.
Yeah, and then they sacked him. So that tells you everything you need to know, man.
Hey,
But
we need
listen,
to change ourselves from Chelsea FC to we have no clue FC because that's
yeah,
what it is. Because that's what it is. We have no clue FC. That's literally what it is. Because they like literally, okay, you sack this guy. What are you gonna do? Caretaker manager until the end of the season? That's probably what's a sensible approach to have, right? Because you've getting rid of the whole backroom staff, blah blah blah. Okay, cool. You do the whole caretaker thing. All right, now you got to go around and look for a manager. What manager you going to bring in that's actually knows how to win stuff and that could actually probably advise you guys because you guys know nothing? You're going to find anyone of that caliber. So what they're going to do, they're going to go and find another nobody. And I don't care what anyone says. Indoni Iraola is another nobody, right? That's a nobody, if you ask me. He shouldn't be at Chelsea.
I think he's a coach who's got a great potential. I think he's a good coach. But
So
again,
did the rest. So did the rest.
Yeah, I mean, they're probably thinking, well, he's got Premier League experience, but again...
No, he's another nobody. He manages Bournemouth. He's another nobody, right? Bournemouth and Chelsea, not in the same size at all. He won't be able to handle that pressure on that other side. Because clearly, the pressure at Chelsea is not even good pressure. It's pressure that literally busts pipes. Because you go in a couple of games losing run, then that's you're cooked. You don't have that pressure at Bournemouth. You don't have that pressure at Wolves. You don't have that pressure at all of these other clubs, Brentford and whatnot. Look what happened to Thomas Frank. And that was even at Tottenham.
Yeah.
Left Brentford. Oh, yeah, he's got potential. He's doing well. Brought them up from the Championship, blah, blah, blah. They're doing good. Yeah, he should fit in at Tottenham with a bigger budget, with better players, whatnot. Fried. Absolutely fried. Sauteed. Man sacked. Same thing at Chelsea. So all of these guys, what Chelsea needs is an iron hand manager, like a Tuchel, like a Mourinho. These type of characters that are just literally strong iron hands. But we ain't gonna do that. We're gonna just go and get another nobody.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, underneath its ownership, you won't do that for sure. But I agree. I think Chelsea, like I said before, Chelsea, I know they've always gone for a manager, like someone like a Simeone who's been there, who's done it, who's tough in a dugout, who's got the aura, the presence.
Yep.
But again, the coach like Areola, I disagree. I think he's a very good coach, but I feel like Areola is a good coach for a club who will allow him, as you said, the pressure's not at Bournemouth, so he's allowed to have that project and to build his team steadily, right? And don't forget, he's lost players, right? He lost Kirkes, he lost Semenyo in the middle of the season, but it's not really affecting him. He's managed to
you're forgetting about the centre back they had that's at Real Madrid. He lost him too.
Yeah, and obviously Solanke went to Tottenham as well. So
Solanke as well.
Yeah, he's lost a lot of players and he's able to deal with the adversity, right, and build a team that's still competing, right? So, but again, is Chelsea the right fit for him? Maybe not, because Areola needs a club that's going to be fully behind him.
Different. If he was at Chelsea and he lost those players, Chelsea would then go and give him a whole bunch of players that are not even at the level of the players that he would have lost. Yeah. That's the difference. Because you can't tell me that we've lost certain, if you look at the players that have been sold from Chelsea over time, during this whole, even like letting Nicholas Jackson leave, because what we've got Delap hasn't even scored 5 goals in the Premier League. Jackson at least was doing double digits in the Premier in his first season, but nobody wants to talk about that.
Yeah.
So what we doing? It's like it's a joke. It really is funny. It really is funny. You know what I mean? Like it's just like,
but
hey, this is who we are, mate.
So this is our Chelsea. I mean, there's a massive question mark over Chelsea right now and how they move forward, man. But listen, people were requesting you to get your views on this, Flexx. So thank you for jumping on there. But listen, there's the FA Cup semi-final this weekend, so maybe there might be a bit of joy on that front. But guys, as always, you're going, Flexx.
And I was going to say, if there is, we'll just get to the final, and guess what? They'll pull our trousers down and spank us again.
Never know. The cup competition is magic, in it. So Chelsea, this might be a time now. Like I said before, maybe if now Rosenior's not there, maybe that might, for whatever reason, give them a bit of a lift. They might get through the semi-final, maybe gets a final, and perhaps they might sneak into the Champions League spots. But yeah, Flexx, has been good as always, man. I appreciate you jumping on.
Always, man. Always.
Guys, again, please follow us on Instagram TikTok now as well. Don't forget that, and also X as well. And please, again, if you're watching on YouTube, please continue to like and subscribe the content. We appreciate it very much. And also, yeah, leave your comments down below, man. Let us know your comments, Chelsea fans. What's your thoughts on Rosenior being sacked? What's your thoughts on Blue Code, the current ownership at the moment, and also where did Chelsea go next? Like, who do they go for as managers? What's your thoughts on the players? There's a lot to talk about, a lot to dissect with Chelsea at the moment. So please leave your comments down below. Appreciate it very much. Flexx, as always, I'll catch you in the next one.